So there is no one answer, but what there is, and what is terribly important, is innovation and the power of a good idea. Harriet talking about fair trade, what a powerfully good idea has that been. Some of the fantastic ideas of the past decade. Let's just look at what was happening in London this week with Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunisation. What a powerful idea was that, to come together to find ways to actually convince pharmaceutical companies to start looking for cures for diseases that there isn't the money to pay for in the developing world. If it was a disease in the developed world, there might be the money, but not in the developing world. So this idea to come together and bring resources so that you can actually support and push the pharmaceuticals into actually finding cures for really important and significant developing country diseases. Another fantastic idea came out of the Clinton Foundation. Using his power, Bill Clinton was able to start to push and to amalgamate the strength of market forces to bring down so significantly the cost of antiretrovirals for people suffering from HIV, to the point now that, I don't know if you saw The Economist last week, but it's the best good news story I've seen on AIDS for a good decade, and I've been working in the area of HIV and AIDS for some time. What powerfully good ideas are those? But the other thing you've got to have the right policy settings. You can have good ideas, but if you're going to get a closed door, if you're going to get a situation where governments aren't listening to you, if governments actually put into place policies which are going to work against that good idea, then you're going to be struggling. One of the most depressing pieces of news I've read in a long time, actually, I read it tonight, just before coming in here. I was sitting upstairs in the library, filling in time, reading Vanity Fair. And there was an article, the latest article by Joseph Stiglitz, who, as you all know, is one of the world's most interesting and important economists. He was looking at the situation in the States at the moment and doing a comparison with who owns what, and revisiting his own PhD thesis. And he came to the conclusion that 1% of America's wealthiest own 40% of America's wealth. You think that's significant? 25 years ago, it was 12% of America's wealthiest owned 33% of America's wealth. So while you have an increasing concentration of America's wealth in its richest, you are finding that the rest of the population is actually diminishing in terms of their own wealth. And the gap between the rich and the poor in the United States is far greater than the gap between the rich and the poor in Europe. Now, I just mention this because it tells you something about policy settings. It tells you something about getting the right framework in the respective countries to ensure that when that good idea comes along, when that coffee farmer has the brilliant thought about how to actually improve her or his prospects, if you don't have the right policy settings, you can find that whatever good idea you have isn't going to work.